Well, good morning. My name is David Wilkinson, and I'm the chair of the Asian Business Management Conference for 2010. And it's with great pleasure that I'm welcoming you to the inaugural Asian Business Management Conference. Let me begin my introduction by providing some background to this conference. The ABMC is new on the conference scene. It's being run under the auspices of IAFOR, the International Academic Forum, which is a confederation of leaders and opinion performers from around the globe who have one thing in common. They want to make a difference. IAFOR was founded in 2009 by a group of concerned Asian, European and North American academics and business professionals, and it aims to provide meaningful dialogue irrespective of national borders and international borders. It's committed to ensuring that Asian leaders and opinion makers in both the public and private sectors, in education, the media and business, have the chance to meet their colleagues from other continents and discuss issues of national and international relevance and importance. It's a noble sentiment and one that can only be applauded. And as a consequence, IAFOR has developed a series of conferences across a number of disciplinary areas, including the Asian Conference on Arts and Humanities, the Asian Conference on the Social Sciences, the Asian Conference on Education, the Asian Conference on the Media, and now the Asian Business and Management Conference. Conferences have already been held for the first three, so that IAFOR has already demonstrated its commitments to its vision. But an organisation is really made up of people, and there are a number of people who need to be acknowledged in making this conference happen. And they include Mr. Takayuki Yamada, the chairman of IAFOR, the Reverend Professor Stuart Pickham, who's the chairman of the International Advisory Board, Dr. Steve Cornell from Osaka Women's University, Associate Professor Peter Mackay of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and Professor Marina Dabic of Zagreb University of Croatia. In addition, the following have had significant input into the conference but have not been able to attend, including Dr. Betty Chung from the Graduate School of Management from Korea Institute of Science and Technology, Dr. Ada Chiasakol from the Saisen Graduate School in Chulalongkorn, Thailand, and Dr. Chun Chin from the School of Economics and Management, Tsinghua University. We've also got a number of sponsors and exhibitors and affiliates who I'd like to acknowledge. These include Sawani Siwatana-san, the President of Heritage Asia Pacific, the sponsor for tote bag, Ms. Misa Ishikawa from Pearson Kirihara, and she'll be making a presentation this afternoon on the Pearson Language English Studies. Elke Carvella Hernandez of the European Foundation for Management Development, and Mark Jewell of the Globally Responsible Leadership Initiative, and also Sage Asia Pacific. We also had last night, he was unable to stay today, he was called away, His Excellency Dr. Drago Stambak, the Ambassador of Croatia, His Excellency Mr. Gert Grover, the Ambassador of South Africa. Well, unfortunately, again, had a last-minute engagement, he was unable to be here today. Mr. Mohammed Salahin, Director of the World Food Programme in Japan and Korea, and Mr. Lowell Shepherd, Director of Hope International Development Agency, Asia Pacific. And finally, I'd like to personally pay great gratitude to Tim Desmond from the Goya University of Commerce and Business, who's been instrumental in getting the conference up and running. And I certainly appreciate what he's done to make this conference happen. When I was first asked to become involved in this conference, I noted that the academic world was very crowded, and it makes it very hard for new conferences such as this to actually break in and make itself heard and be seen. As academics, we tend to have the conferences we go to, we know when they're coming in the conference schedule, and we plan ourselves around those. And for a new conference to pop its head up, be seen, be heard, and then attract people, it's not an easy ask. And that we've attracted a number of colourful presenters here today is testament to the involvement and hard work in those people I've mentioned. I was intrigued last night reading the presentation guide to see that we've got about 25 or 26 different countries here. And whilst you would expect the Asia Pacific region to be represented, I was intrigued to see Brazil, Estonia, Italy, Germany, a lot of European countries that I wouldn't have expected to make the journey over here. And that's, again, very pleasing. My relationship with this contractor began indirectly about 2.5 years ago, in about April 2008. My wife had been at a parents' night at our boys' school and came home somewhat disturbed. She woke me up and said, she related a story from another parent, Robert, who's a private wealth advisor with a large Australian private bank. And she woke me up and said, Robert said, cash up, liquidate, the world's going to collapse. Well, 6 months later, it appears as if it had. The collapse of the US housing bubble in 2007 caused the values of securities tied to real estate pricing to plummet, damaged financial institutions globally. Questions regarding bank solvency, declines in credit availability, large securities suffered losses in late 2008, early 2009. We woke up every morning not quite knowing what was going on. The economy's worldwide slowed during this period as credit tightened and international trade declined. In simple terms, unsustainable levels of debt in many economies triggered a near collapse of the global banking system. Governments and central banks responded with unprecedented fiscal stimulus, monetary policy expansion and institutional bailouts. It was argued that credit rating agencies and investors had failed to accurately price the risk involved with mortgage-related products, and that governments did not adjust their regulatory practices to address 21st century financial markets. We woke up each morning wondering what was the latest overnight news from Wall Street and Washington, and indeed around the world. Recession gave way to thoughts of depression, and nothing seems to have changed greatly since then. The challenges which emerged in 2008 are still with us today. In June 2009, I was informed about this conference and I was asked if I would chair the conference. I was told that the chair had one key job, and I'll return to that key job shortly. After some discussion and debate over the next few months, I accepted the offer. And since then I've kept my eyes on world financial events for two reasons. One was simply, how was what was going on going to affect me and my family? And then, what profound things could I say in this opening address? I still don't have an answer to one. I'm not certain what's going to happen for our own family. And I still have no profound words. I decided I'd leave those to our keynote speaker. But let me list some words, countries and events in no particular order that may resonate with you. Efficient markets, Greece and Spain, the euro and the euro policy, yuan, the yuan as a trading currency, the US dollar yuan exchange rate, currency or exchange rate manipulation, double dip, debt finance consumption, prudential regulation, toxic assets, bank bailouts, government stimulation, where some have argued that the USA became the new SA, derivatives, subprime, collateralised debt obligations, US Treasury bonds bubble, deflation, and more recently, over the last few days, currency wars. We're all familiar with those. And for those who work in the business schools, this in turn has led to a crisis of confidence. Blame the MBA. Recent panel titles that I've come across as I've come around to conferences include what's the role of management education, what changes are needed in business education, missing presumed debt, the future role of business schools. But there's an even more noticeable crisis in the manner in which economics as a discipline is viewed. The dismal science is indeed considered to be living up to its name. Over the past few decades, we've seen economists and financiers develop even more sophisticated models to anticipate market behaviour, often based around the efficient market hypothesis. But these models mostly fail to see the coming crisis. Indeed, many contributed to it by getting behaviour so wrong. Nevertheless, there is no consensus on the cause of the crisis or the best way forward. Is the mess we are in the result of market failure or a government failure? Earlier this year, Russ Roberts from George Mason University disputed the notion of economics as a science. He said, most sciences make progress, but in economics, theories that were once discredited surge back into failure. John Maynard Keynes and the view that government spending can create prosperity seemed immortal. I thought stagflation had put a stake in the heart of this idea back in the 1970s. Suddenly, he's a genius again. Hayek, Keynes' more laissez-faire sparring partner is in drawing interest. There are various monikers to choose from. Which paradigm is the right way to think about boom and bust, or are they all wrong? Facts and evidence still matter. and economists have learned some things have stood the test of time and that we almost all agree on. The general connection between the money supply and inflation, for example. But the arsenal of the modern econometrician is vastly overrated as a divining of truth. Nearly all economists accept the fundamental principles of microeconomics, that incentives matter, that trade creates prosperity, even if there is disagreement on the implications of public policy. But the business cycle and the ability to steer the economy out of recession may be beyond us. We should face the evidence that we are no better at predicting tomorrow than we were yesterday. 8 years after the Great Depression, we still argue about what caused it and why it ended. In fact, we have the first law of economists. For every economist, there exists an equal and opposite economist, to which pessimists would also add the second law, and they're both wrong. To me, one of the challenges we face is what the American political and cultural economist David Trobe said, is to understand that the moral and social yearnings of fully realisable beings are not reducible to universal laws and cannot be studied like physics. Once this is accepted, economics can become a subsection of history and moral philosophy. So that brings me to my real task today. I said earlier that when I was asked to chair this conference, I was told it entailed one key job.